the collected stories of Arthur C. Clarke, Volume 1, by Arthur C. Clarke, narrated by Ben Onwukwe, Mike Grady, Nick Bolton, Roger May, and Sean Barrett. This work is copyrighted 2000 by Arthur C. Clarke. This recording is copyrighted 2010 by W.F. Howes Limited. Foreword. According to my indefatigable bibliographer, David N. Samuelson, Arthur C. Clarke, A Primary and Secondary Bibliography, G.K. Hall, my first attempts at fiction appeared in the Hewish magazine for autumn 1932. I was then on the editorial board of the school journal, which was presided over by our English master, Captain E.B. Mitford, to whom I later dedicated my collection, The 9 Billion Names of God. My contributions were letters, purporting to be from old boys, working in exotic environments, which clearly had science-fictional inspiration. But what is science fiction anyway? Attempts to define it will continue as long as people write PhD theses. Meanwhile, I'm content to accept Damon Knight's magisterial, science fiction is what I point to and say, that's science fiction. Much blood has been spilled on the carpet in attempts to distinguish between science fiction and fantasy. I have suggested an operational definition. Science fiction is something that could happen, but usually you wouldn't want it to. Fantasy is something that couldn't happen, though often you only wish that it could. The writer of science fiction is faced with a problem which the writers of so-called mainstream fiction, devoted to a tiny subsection of the real universe, don't have to worry about. They seldom need to spend pages setting the scene. Sometimes one sentence will do the trick. When you read, "It was a foggy evening in Baker Street," you're there in a millisecond. The science fiction writer, constructing a totally alien environment, may need several volumes to do the job. The classic example is Frank Herbert's masterwork Dune and its sequels. So it's rather surprising that many of the finest works of science fiction are short stories. I can still recall the impact of Stanley Weinbaum's A Martian Odyssey when the July 1934 Wonder Stories arrived. When I close my eyes, I can see that characteristic Paul cover. Never before or since did I read a story and then go straight.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?